The Police Station Building Committee. We have an agenda, we have a quorum. This meeting is called to order. First, we have bills to pay as per usual. If I can just pull those up. And we have the following bills to pay. We have construction monitoring services, $60,924.20. Diamond Relocation Incorporated, $15,964. Eagle Leasing, $1,126.23. Power Solutions, $1,854.59. Fontaine Brothers, $463,143. Forerunner Technologies, $13,975. Granger, $2,844.48. Hilliard, $306.28. Tecton Architects, $31,639. Wally Computer Associates, $32,345. And Xerox, $31,003, for a total of $654,884.78. Any questions or comments on those?
I have a question, but it doesn't necessarily pertain to this bill.
Not on this bill. Okay. Do we have a motion?
Will we approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to pay the previously listed invoices in the amount of $654,884.78. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted unanimously.
Can I ask a question, Pat?
Sure, go ahead, Mo.
I'm assuming the Xerox is copy machines, right?
It was a combination.
Printers, whatever.
Printers and copy machines, yes.
So when I looked at the backup for this, I didn't see any of them had service contracts, or is that a separate item?
Not sure. I'd have to talk to, Greg
Oh.
and see if it was purchased with the machinery or not.
Okay. I could have missed them, but I didn't see it on any of them.
Okay. Thanks, Neil. Well, Neil, while we have you up, we'll just hear your report at this point.
Okay.
All right?
So circulated prior to the meetings, budget update.
Yep.
Cost to date of $31.463 million. We have roughly $5.5 million left to spend within the GMP. Roughly 85% overall on the project, inclusive of the communications. We are just under $4.6 million in cost remaining. Communications budget, just under $4.6 million expended, a little over $400,000 remaining at 91.8% complete. That is inclusive of change orders 1 through 12, and I'd be happy to take any questions that people would have on the budget.
Any questions on the budget as it stands right now? No?
No.
Okay.
So, Pat, to answer your question, on the contingency line item.
Yep.
If you calculate that through, based on the $823,000 revisions, that's for all change orders and expenditures outside of what was originally anticipated. We have expended just over 45% of that number, with the 995 remaining. Again, that's through change order 12. We'll make
Right.
adjustments in change order 13 for next month's budget,
Okay.
and it will calculate accordingly.
All right, excellent. Thank you.
All right?
Anything else? Sure.
We're not doing the communication,
No, that's correct.
okay, so,
It's under this, it was under this appropriation,
right.
so we're tracking the costs, but they're being
So-
managed elsewhere.
Do we know what's left to do on that? Is there anything left to do on that? Do we know?
I would have to double check with.
We can get a
Joe Bellows.
Yeah, we can get a report from Joe for the next meeting.
Yeah, I was just wondering if it's completed or that's just still work to do.
If, I'm going to follow up with that, and maybe Kevin knows the answer to this, or maybe you do, Neil. If that money, if all that work is completed and they're all done, and that $400,000 is left, what would happen to that, the rest of that appropriation? Would that go back? It wouldn't be transferred over into the other budget?
Well, if it was needed for the project, it would be available for the
Okay.
police station project.
All right.
Because of the way it was voted at town meeting.
Okay,
But ultimately, anything that's turned back would be available for future capital investment.
sure, okay. Thank you.
Question, Pat? Chief, are you still operating in the old system, or are you guys up and running with the new communication system?
Yeah, 100% up and running.
With the new system?
With the new.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would assume, Pat, there probably is not a lot more to do on that line item, I would think.
Right, that would make.
But I don't know.
Presumption, because I haven't
Yeah,
seen any
yeah.
expenditures in the last few meetings.
This is current as of March 23rd. I think, based on our original conversation, and again, this goes over a year ago, so forgive me, but I think that the anticipated total expenditure is in the $4.9 million range. That's from memory, so
Sure.
don't quote me on it.
Okay,
We'll get an update from Joe.
all right,
Bring it back for the next.
excellent. Thank you. Anything else for Neil? No? Okay, that will bring us to Matt from Tecton Architects. How are you, Matt?
Doing very well. Yourself?
I'm doing well, thanks.
I will take you through a brief update, as we've done in the past, and then I have a second item here on some updated renderings that we put together of the site itself out in front of Town Hall in the Grove area. So this is just an update of the front of the police station. Really, the only note here is plantings are continuing. You'll see that throughout the updated images here, and the protective covering on the metal panels around the vestibule been removed. So instead of it looking like blue wrappers, it's all nice and shiny and white and complete. So that's going along nicely. One of the last remaining pieces here is just these final downspout connections. A lot of them are being tied in now. These ones go out to the detention basin that's being worked on currently with the demo of the existing police station. So that's when those final connections will be made. Heading out to the back, this is the second egress drive heading out of the police station parking lot. It's a majority of this work has been completed. This is the drive here coming out of the secure parking area fence line. You can see the berms on either side of it. And then looking off to the left, you can see the parking area. It's been graded out there in the retention basin. It's just, everything's been sort of planted, getting ready for establishment. And then another view of the parking area looking back towards the police station on the left. So the majority of this work is complete. It's just a matter of waiting for the plantings to grow, and then the asphalt placed for the handicap parking spot. Heading out to the front of the police parking lot, the cantilever slide gate has been completed along with the decorative fencing. We're just waiting on the actual operator for that and the final connections to be made. Once that is completed, that'll be fully functional and operational to secure the back parking lot at the station. And then out to the front along Maple Ave, you'll see Hydra Seed is down now, so just waiting for the grass to establish here based on the weather forecast that we've had and have forecasted out here. That should establish pretty quickly and start to take hold, as well as additional tree plantings have been placed. Those will continue on throughout the building over the next few weeks. And then another view from the public parking side, looking out towards Maple Ave. And then heading out to the existing PD, the existing asphalt has been stripped for the first portion of work here, getting ready for new storm structures, final grading, binder and paving. Continuing around to the back of the station here as well. And then on the front of the building, you'll see partial demolition around all the windows. That was for abatement of PCBs around the window frame assemblies themselves. That's sort of the last piece of the abatement phase. Once that's complete, then demolition will start later this week. And then on the interior, the abatement phase has also been completed. We received the clearance letter from the hygienist on Friday. That was sort of the last piece to fall in line with the abatement phase of work on the interior. You'll see a lot of drywall that's been removed. It's a lot of the drywall tape between the drywall joints had asbestos in it, so that was a major effort during the abatement scope of work. And then one last image, the dedication plaque has been delivered and installed in the lobby of the new station. So that is complete. Any questions on progress through there? All right, jump into an updated site plan and some images of the Grove area. So here's the graphic site plan. You've seen this in the past. It's certainly been a while. But we wanted to provide some updated imagery now that we've moved around some site signs, have a new location or final location for the digital sign and the Grove area itself. So zooming in, we've got 3 rendered views. Down here is the new location of the digital sign that was originally over here. We worked that out with some mock-ups on the best location for the front of the campus as well as visibility out to the street. We have a view of a picnic table that sits over here, and then another view up here, and then a 4th view showing the relocated town hall sign that's going to be moving from this location across the Sacred Acre to the east entrance drive. So this is view 1. This is sort of at the top corner of the Sacred Acre, looking towards the police station. We have one of the rain gardens here between the new drive and the public and the walkways. A majority of these trees are going to be new plantings that are going to be going in here once the pavement is taken up and grading is completed. This is a view from the east entrance where there's the existing town hall sign here, and then this will be the relocated one that we'll be picking up, moving over here and setting on a new foundation with some new plantings. And this is from Maple Ave, looking at the new digital sign that'll be at the front along Maple Ave. And then lastly, this is within the Grove area of one of the picnic table areas. This is the one that'll be actually set onto paving with a handicapped accessible spot. So this will be the handicapped accessible ones. There'll be a few other picnic tables that we're going to be siting here. This is the one that we identified for the rendering, as well as some additional benches along the police station, and there'll be some more scattered about along this pathway here. Any questions?
You okay with it?
Yep.
All right, looks good.
Great. That's all I had.
Questions? Any follow- Donna?
How big are the trees going to be when you put them in?
Not as big as they are on the render.
I know that. And that's why I'm asking. Are they going to be as small as the ones near the police station, or are they bigger than that?
Yeah, they'll be like that. They'll be about that size.
So in 20 years, they'll be that size?
Yeah. Yeah, we, you can certainly plant a larger caliper, more mature tree. They don't establish as well and have a higher risk of not having a long life cycle. So that's about the size that they have the best chance of establishment and longevity.
Good to know.
Anything else from Matt? All right, thanks, Matt. Next, we have Ryan up from Fontaine Brothers.
So I think Matt took most of my thunder away with, but as he noted, the second exit and gravel lot's pretty well along. Really, the only thing we have left for that is the pavement at the ADA spot and the bituminous along the driveway itself. Luckily, that driveway's already come into use when they're installing the cantilever gate. Through coordination with Officer Hester, we closed off the main entrance and they used that back entrance, so that's already come into use. Everything else site-wise, the landscaping's made a lot of progress in the last 2 weeks. They're pretty well there with all the plantings on the police station side, so the majority of everything else that you see out along the back edge of the police station lot is all plantings for the phase 2 work. Pushing to get in before the spring planting season's over. In the building, it's just the last of the punch list, getting everybody out of there, where I think we're down to about a dozen commissioning punch list items left, so that's all closing out very nicely. And then we just have a landscaping punch list and everything along those lines once that all establishes. As Matt noted, the interior abatement demo was complete. We got our letter of clean health on the inside, so they moved to the outside with the exterior PCB caulking removal. That was the overcutting to make sure that we had presumed everything that was hazardous or potentially hazardous was within that demolition. That just finished up late Friday, so we're working with Selco and water and sewer to get the last of our cut and caps done to then be safe to demo the building. So all of that's going along well. As I'm sure everybody's seen, we've taken a good portion of that west slot in coordination with everybody in the town hall to get a fair portion of the underground drainage in, including a big detention system. So that was nice to get while we were in the abatement phase. It just gives us a leg up on a big portion of a solid week's worth of work out of the way up front. So once that building comes down, we'll tie in the road to the police department public entrance driveway and then shift over parking into some of the gravel area to maintain adequate parking for the town hall use, and then be flipping over, finishing up the rest of the drainage, all the site electrical, your redundant tie-ins, and paving it here in the next couple of months. So it'll be a busy 8 weeks here at the town hall to get the rest of this wrapped up, but it's all coming along nicely, and more or less it's what I have at the moment.
Donna?
When do you anticipate that back gate will be functioning?
The gate itself,
Right.
so the slide gate, that's just, I was actually coordinating with the electrician and the operator installer today. I'm trying to get them both here this week to get that in, so.
And the trees that you had from last fall, did you lose many over the winter, or did we get lucky?
No, they all seem to have lasted, and either way, the landscaper owns a warranty for a year, so in next spring, if there's trees that haven't made it, they'll be responsible for replacing those. So if something doesn't establish, then they'll be replaced. And if it's determined that a species themselves didn't take on the site for whatever reason, just like we did with Keith and company at Beal, we'll find a different species, and we'll try not to repeat the same process and expect a different outcome.
I think the benches look really nice.
Yeah.
And I like the decorative fence.
Do you really? Thanks, Ryan. Anything else for Ryan?
You have one question?
Yep, go ahead, Mo.
What's the mounding over by the building?
So that, by the existing
Yeah.
station, so the detention system that went in, that's designed to have car traffic over it. But part of that cross-section is obviously the pavement that's supposed to go on top of it. And since the building itself isn't demoed yet, we want to make sure we have appropriate cover over those pipes to make sure that they don't get damaged. So it was determined that that extra 2 feet of mounding was the appropriate cover to protect the system underneath it.
This right here.
Yep, exactly. So that's what that mound's for. So that mound, once the building's down, is gonna get pushed out, and that's gonna be used as subgrade material at the, for the parking lot, since that whole parking lot gets raised up anywhere from 6 inches to a foot as you move from grade to grade.
Okay, thank you.
Donna?
Do you have an anticipated date for the building to come down?
As long as everything with the disconnects goes well this week, it should be the end of this week or early next week at the
And
latest.
how do you
So,
do that?
a big excavator. Well,
Really?
Yeah, yeah. So,
Not a big implosion like you see?
no, there won't be a wrecking ball. It's not like the,
Won't be a Vegas hotel.
Right.
it's not like the cartoons.
Ryan, did you run into any unanticipated problems when you were going through the abatement process?
Nothing out of the usual, which is good.
Yeah,
So
no, that is.
that's good that the surveys that they did early on, kind of everything lined up with what we expected.
Yeah,
So,
good.
Relatively smooth.
Excellent.
And the hazardous waste disposal, what budget does that come out of?
So that's part of the construction project, so that's within my GMP. So that was all within the contract that we gave to the demo and abatement contractor.
Donna?
Because we're getting towards the end of this, and there's all these little pieces, moving parts right now, Can we be comfortable with what we have left in contingency, or should we be more concerned at this point?
Specific to my contingency, I'm comfortable with where we are with my contingency.
I would say with the phases of work that we have left, the two biggest risks that we probably still have is as they demo the building, if there is something that is hazardous underneath that we tested for, but you could always find something, a piece of pipe or something that had asbestos on it that gets mixed in with the soil, something like that. Other than that, I think we know what's below the soil as far as the parking lot area, so I don't think there's much risk for unforeseens there, but I think it's really just gonna be about what's underneath the building when we pull it up. But I don't think there's a risk of anything that would be substantial enough to really impact contingency at this point.
Good.
Yeah, I'm what was budgeted, I think is the key thing.
I was gonna say, for what it's worth, I think we're in very good shape
Good.
based on where we are.
But that was gonna be my follow-up. Where are we on our side?
Somewhat anticipated.
I always worry about contingencies and where we are, so it's good to hear. All right, very good. Thanks, Ryan. That brings us to change order number 13. Who's gonna handle that one?
So I'll start.
All right, Neil.
Try to go through everything all together, and then happy to take any questions on individual items. I'm sure there'll be some. PCO 105 is presented for the provision and installation of additional power and data. If you recall, at a past committee meeting, I'm not sure it was last month, it may have been the month before, we asked for authorization for 2 additional workstations, one in the traffic area and one in the services area on the 2nd floor. And this power and data request was to provide those services at the additional workstations that were provided under the furniture change orders that we had voted on previously. PCO 106 was for the addition of power, data, and video services to 3 added monitor locations. 2 of them were soffit mounted inside of the patrol area, and the 3rd was at the quartermaster's office. PCO 116 was a request for additional door graphics as a wayfinding means at various locations throughout the station, typically at departmental offices. In addition to that, there was a request for exterior door numbers to be added above each of the overhead doors, walking around the perimeter of the building. That is more so to facilitate an officer's request to have a certain door opened for them as they're entering the campus or otherwise. And then lastly,
Neil, let me
I'm sorry.
just, I
Yep.
apologize, just to add to that, that was also for emergency response into the station. If there's a medical emergency and an EMS responder is coming to the building that's not familiar with the police station itself, they'd be able to better find their way to wherever that emergency situation was.
And then similarly, the perimeter personnel doors that are located around the outside of the building were also requested to have exterior illuminated, or reflective, numbers placed on them for in the event of a response to the building. PCO 117 is for additional security cameras to be provided inside of the evidence storage room. This was an oversight of the design. There should be cameras inside of the dispatch office for monitoring of evidence, monitoring of people going in and out of evidence. Those cameras were not on the documents. It was not noticed until very late in the game. What we surmised the best way out of it was to repurpose 5 existing cameras that we had. So those cameras had to be removed. We had to pull new data lines into the evidence room in the intended location. reprogram the existing cameras we had, and then restock them for installation at a later date. Cost of that was $21,487.15. Some of that work was done on premium time the weekend before we occupied the building. It was a request, PCO 118 is a request for added millwork outside of the administrative suite. That is for the addition of wood trim and a transaction counter outside of the operable window in the administrative offices. There was a request to add, the original contract required that we provide fobbed or access card into the evidence suite, and the request was made for added security to add dual credential. So we had to take that device off and put in a device that was both key card and code operated in order to gain access to evidence. That request was $4,445.23. There was a request from the communications piece from Joe Milos to provide additional fencing around the base of the antenna tower. We had provided fencing around the perimeter of the entire site. Joe advised us that per FCC requirements, the base of the tower had to be enclosed in fence. So we, in addition to providing the fence that was requested, we also took out the loam and seed finishes and replaced it with crushed stone, so there'd be no maintenance requirement inside of that enclosure. That was $13,644.34. Provision of additional power, data, and interview camera revisions. This is for 2 different offices. This was for an added data outlet in the chief's office, additional quad receptacles within the quartermaster office, and relocation, realignment of the cameras associated with the interview rooms on the 2nd floor, $7,418.17. There was a request to provide a new panic button inside of evidence storage and at dispatch. So there were 2 buttons in total, $5,195.75. There was a request to provide HDMI cabling to the conference room tables. We had provided power and data into the floor boxes or into the table proper, and the request was made to provide additional HDMI cabling so that you could project from your monitor from the conference room table onto the displays at the end of each of the tables. That was $2,674.64. Request to provide additional key fobs. Not an atypical request at this point. Once you go through the initial onslaught of staffing each member of the community that needs it with a key fob, you have much less remaining than you would like to or you're comfortable with at this time. So there was a request to provide 200 additional key fobs at a cost of $2,004.22. And lastly, PCO 130 is to provide firearm lockers at interview rooms on the 2nd floor. And again, once the department moved in, if a detective was to take a person of interest into one of the locker rooms and conduct an interview, there was no place for them to store their sidearm. It is, I think, departmental practice that you never bring a sidearm into an interview or otherwise into a locked area. So that was $3,976.88. I'm sure there are questions. I'd be happy to take them.
Questions?
Not all at once, please, in
Yep.
order.
Well,
How much of this is already done?
So, to answer that question directly, it's probably about half of it. The reason that it was done was it was deemed necessary in order to get people settled in their new spaces. And operational and efficient in their new areas. And then some of it had to be done before occupancy was taken. And again, because of specifically the security cameras in the evidence room. Because of the late notice of that happening, it was something that we had to move on very quickly.
So you said that half of the work has been completed already, so that would be everything done, it has been done at the evidence room already?
Yes,
So that 21,000
yes.
has been done.
The fencing around the
so-
antenna tower has been completed.
Okay, because I had a question around that. Why would that come out of the owner's contingency as opposed to the communication budget? If that's part of the communication system?
It's really at your discretion. I'm certainly not authorized to
Yeah, no,
ask
I
for-
understand that. I guess that's my, it seems like that's part of the communication package, having the antenna and making sure that it's,
Yeah.
all set up.
I think the difficulty is that they weren't, the antenna firm is not set up to put fence in. Where,
yeah, but shouldn't that all be included in the contract, though, that we submit, that they,
well, no, the tower was provided under our contract. All they did was connect to it. The tower, the provision of the tower itself and the foundation was provided under this contract.
not under the communication
That's correct.
contract? Okay.
I believe the communication contract paid for the tower, but all the related construction work and installation was on this contract, correct?
I don't know that.
Yeah, we did the foundation.
So the foundation was part of my concrete subcontractor, and then the tower itself, I'd have to look, let me look quickly. The tower itself and its installation was assigned to general contractor.
Oh, okay.
I'd have to,
We did that very early on.
yeah, that was assigned prior to the
Okay.
GMP. I believe that was, coordination-wise, it made the most sense to the group at that point to assign it to Fontaine. Green Mountain.
All right, anything else? Donna?
As I look at this list, and as you explain it, it seems really logical, but what I am trying to get beyond is how were a lot of these things, and I think it might speak to what you're talking about, how were these not part of the original plan? Some of them. It seems like a lot of things. Is this typical? To me, I'm looking at some of this and I'm thinking, why didn't they think of that in the beginning?
So, the short answer, Donna, is yes and no. Some of it can be envisioned. There were some of these instances where, as a result of personnel that moved into their space and said, I don't want my desk over there, I want it over there. So it really runs the gamut. When you, for example, the ad on the monitors in the patrol area, when you went in, on paper, it looked fine. When you went in and actually stood in the space with, I don't know, 18 desks in front of you, there really wasn't one clear line of sight from anywhere in the building to one monitor. So we separated and added two, and it created better sight lines for the entire office. So it's just like I said, some of those things could be anticipated. Whether they should be anticipated, I think, is somewhat judgmental. And each of you can make a decision, I guess, in that manner. There are other things that you just don't see until you actually have the space and can get in there and look around and move around, and then you make a realization, we can do this better, and that was the judgment.
I'll be honest here, my larger concern is that this work was done and completed without any knowledge or notification to the committee. You know, my understanding was that anything under $25,000, up to $25,000, or anything over $25,000 would be handled by Keith, it would have been Kevin and myself. Anything over that needs the approval of the entire committee. A meeting should have been called. We could have put together a meeting before this work was done. I'm very concerned about this, because I'm just looking at, that's about $35,000 that was done without the committee's approval.
I
And now
will
we're
say-
sitting here, you know, I'm sitting here twiddling my thumbs. What are we supposed to do with this?
I will say, Pat, that no individual item exceeded $25,000. There were several items that were less than $25,000, and if it was an interpretation call, that falls on me.
But even up to $25,000, I was never notified. I had no idea this work was going on. And that's concerning, not just from my standpoint, but for the entire committee.
Understood.
So I'm not sure what we're supposed to do with this at this point. You know, it's almost like, why are we here?
Probably the chief can answer this best. On the PCO 116, when it says interior offices for privacy purposes, what does that mean?
Yeah, so what we realized, again, we didn't notice that in the plans, but having that film over the door is really important, specifically for like detective sergeants, detective lieutenants.
Would they have been better
Myself.
off with a solid door?
No, I don't think that would have, aesthetically would have looked
All right,
good.
all right, that's one question. And then, the security alarm or buzzer or whatever for dispatch, I mean, for evidence, is that just added security, I guess is what I'm saying? Is that, it's for someone entering as opposed to a panic button?
So is that number 117?
119? When it says,
So that there is so that there's only two people in the department that can access the evidence room, and that's the sergeant, and that's the evidence officer. So that makes it that they have to go through 2 steps to get into that.
so it's not a panic button, it's that they have to take a second step?
So it's both. So one's to be able to do a double level, I guess, to get into the evidence room.
Yeah.
Then there's a panic button for there in dispatch, because those 2 rooms are locked. No one else is allowed in. So if, God forbid, something happened to somebody that was working in that room, they could hit a panic button. That would, I think Matt can talk on this a little better, but that will give the ability to override that lock so emergency personnel can get in.
Here's an example, Donna. Just last week, it was within the last 2 weeks, I'd heard a snippet on the news that an officer accidentally was exposed to fentanyl inside of an evidence room.
Right.
And he hit the panic device. The panic device, as is the case in our building, overrides the locks and allows emergency personnel entrance to them, probably saved his life, and they were able to treat him and avoid. If in the absence of that, you're relying on the evidence officer's ability to actually get to the door or get to a phone or get to his radio and call for help.
So within the building, because it's so big, are there any dead spots as far as the radio goes?
No, we're having a little issues with cell phones, but not radios.
Cell phones?
Yep.
Okay, and then my other question is, for the key fobs, where you want 200 more, how many did you originally get?
200,
So now it's 400,
correct.
and,
2 separate things. So we got 200, what are these, swipe cards?
Key cards, yep.
And these are key fobs to be able to put on your keychain.
so is it 200 for the same 200 people, or, I mean, do you have a key card and the fob, or are these to have extra, as time goes on, you have extra? I'm just trying to understand how you're using them, that's all.
Yeah, so what they're used for is to have extra. So if someone loses their key fob, or if one breaks, they get issued on the key fob.
Right.
And it gets programmed in through the the access that they're allowed through the building.
And those are not, the new ones coming in, they're not programmed yet?
No,
Okay. Those have to be programmed on an individual basis.
individual based on that person's
Yeah.
access.
The identification, yeah.
And Neil, just going back to Donna's last issue, the panic button, has that work been done yet?
No.
No, okay.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead,
Is
Mo.
the panic button number 126?
Yeah, so just for clarity, panic buttons 126, 119 is to change the key card, the card readers in the evidence storage to card readers keypad combos, which is a little, it's multiple things going on there. So 119's keypads in evidence storage and a call button at the clerk's desk. 126 is the panic buttons only.
Go ahead, Donna.
So overall, Chief, based on this list, or for someone who may have done this with other police stations, is this a reasonable list? I mean, is this considered what you would expect to find
I
in the
mean,
end?
on my end, that's just what we felt that we needed
Yep.
for operations.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that any of these requests are out of the ordinary, something that we wouldn't see on a station.
And I was concerned with the tower, thinking, why didn't they do it in the first place? Like, why didn't they know they needed to do that in the first place? That just kind of puzzled me. But that's all I have for questions.
Anybody else? Mo?
No.
Okay. All right.
Oh, I have.
Oh, go ahead, Donna.
As it relates to this, I'm wondering if we had received, and I don't know why we haven't, but if we had received the weekly minutes, would some of this shown, would we have seen this in the weekly minutes? I don't know. Where did they come from anyhow? Who wrote the minutes that we were getting weekly and we stopped getting?
Weekly update, Alex? That we get, we haven't seen one in several weeks.
Came from Ryan. Ryan wrote them each week. And then Tecton sent them.
Because I'm wondering if some of our questions might not have been questions had we gotten the updates. 'Cause it's like we've had a blackout for
Yeah.
a while.
I'll double check. There were weekly updates that we were providing.
I found them very helpful, so.
Yeah, if they dropped off, I'll touch base with, Tyler was putting those together. I'll touch base with him and see why they haven't been updated yet.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
Several weeks, yeah. All right, anything else on change order 13? No. Okay. Do we have a motion?
Move we approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve change order 13 in the amount of $83,656.69. Any questions or discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So voted unanimously. All right. On review and act on additional services from Tecton Architects for hygienist services and abatement oversight at the old police station.
Yeah, so this is to provide, this is basically to provide the hygienist services for the abatement phase of the new police station. This is basically on-site oversight of a hygienist who monitors air quality, makes sure that all the abatement phase work is done in conformance with the contract documents, does additional testing, air quality sampling, and then issues the final clearance letter for the building as well.
So Matt, is that different from the work that's already been done?
This is part of the work that was.
So once again, we've had work that's been done already without it being presented to committee?
So, Pat, normally what we do with these is we present them as a reimbursable item. It is a scope, it's scope of work that's required by DEP. You have to have a certified hygienist or someone on site to supervise the work as it's happening.
Okay,
What happens is you never know how much time it's gonna take. So oftentimes, we will ask the architect, it is included in their scope of services, but it's as a reimbursable item based on actual cost. So Matt put together his proposal based on estimates.
Okay,
And what I wanted to assure the committee was, you will not pay based on an estimated cost. You will pay based on what is actually required,
okay.
and what Matt's providing is a not-to-exceed amount.
So, okay, so that's
So
helpful.
that's your ceiling.
All right,
It will probably be less.
okay,
I actually asked Matt this morning to get a hold of Fuss and O'Neill and find out how much less it's anticipated to be, because it doesn't make sense to make a request from you for a higher amount
Right,
than we know
right.
it's gonna be.
yeah, 'cause usually those comes in under the bills and warrants,
Right.
which is fine. This appeared to be something different, and
Nope.
knowing that work had already been done, again, you can,
Right.
Yeah, this is.
this is
yeah,
just a little bit different
yeah,
process,
as-
so I had
as-
some
as Neil had
concerns.
mentioned, In our contract, the abatement phase services are reimbursable, and this is sort of based on the duration that Fontaine put together for the abatement phase services and the scope of what the testing results a while back had bore out.
Okay,
This was our anticipated sort of lump sum not to exceed.
okay.
So
And,
This is more providing further clarity rather than asking
Okay.
for something after the fact.
and not to exceed, do you have an amount yet?
Yeah, where are those?
Yeah, so the lump sum that we had initially assumed based on all the data that we had was a not to exceed of 37,400. As we are today, and we're looking at the numbers, we're somewhere in the 75%
75%,
expended. So if there's no further abatement that needs to be done, which we don't anticipate that there is, it would be a portion of.
so that will come in as a bill next month then?
Yep.
And that will come out of what budget?
I have to look, I'm gonna say, Pat, it'll be owner's contingency right now. But if we can fund it from another line item that is underrun within the architect services, we'll take it from there first.
Okay, because again, if it's owner's contingency, that's something that should have come to us
Right.
beforehand for approval, so now we're up to
Well, again, it's hard,
70,000.
it's hard to do that on a cost that's reimbursable. It's hard to.
No, I understand that, but we should have had the not-to-exceed amount at the last meeting before we started the abatement process.
Fair statement.
Do we have to do anything? So we have to, so we need a motion to approve this then? Yes.
As a not to exceed, yes.
Do we have a motion for that?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second for the hygienist services and abatement oversight at the old police station to not exceed $37,400. Is that correct? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So voted unanimously. Meetings coming up, we have May 22nd, June 26th, July 17th. All good there? And Kevin, the dedication has been moved to August?
TBD, yeah.
Yeah,
Sometime in
somewhere.
August
Okay,
or early September.
All right.
Trying to work that out.
yeah, get through vacation and,
Yeah, make sure everyone's available and
yeah,
everything's as established as it can be.
all right, very good. Before we close,
Did we miss the fitness equipment?
we did.
I just have one other item.
Okay.
More on the way of an update than anything else. If you recall, last month, we talked about a long list of miscellaneous items that were requested. I think we were requested and were allowed $30,000 for expenses related to that list of equipment.
Yep.
First of which was a request for 2 additional pieces of fitness equipment. It was provided in the memo at a cost of just shy of $3,400. So with the committee's blessing, I guess we'll move forward with that. In addition, I think Matt had given me an estimate of roughly $17,000 for the furniture that was part of that list. We're still honing in on a few details there. We'll be bringing that back at the next month. And I know the department is looking into the fuming hoods that were also part of that list.
So that'll be in addition to the
So,
30,000.
I'm gonna just keep bringing them back,
So
Pat,
this
as
is-
they-
so this-
as they become available.
This 3398, you need approval now, or is that coming out of the 30,000?
Coming out of the
It will be
30,000.
part of the 30,000.
Okay, all right.
I can tell you, based on the original numbers, we're probably gonna exceed that number. So we'll just break them down, we'll bring them back each month, and we'll keep rolling
Okay, don't buy anything.
till we get to the end of the list.
Just for future conversation, the fuming tanks are much more expensive than we originally planned,
Okay.
so.
Yeah.
Working on that.
No, I understand. It's just, it's a matter of communication, that's all. The
Yep.
committee needs to know what's going on before, because otherwise we're sitting here and I'm not sure why. So, a little bit better communication, I think, would be good, but,
Can I ask a question on that?
sure.
So, the list was for like $50,000 worth of stuff, and then the committee approved 30.
That's correct.
So, how, like, what's being handled, what's not being handled? Like, how, so, you have clearance to spend the first $30,000?
Yes.
Right?
That was my understanding,
I
yes.
agree. Okay.
And then
But you think that,
whatever is over and above, we'll
Yeah.
sort of pull it out and bring it back and either ask for an additional appropriation or provide an accounting of what's been spent and what's remaining,
Yep.
and go that route.
and I do have to say, I mean, I've been through the building several times with the chief for several different reasons, and we've gone through these things, and some of them, I wanna say, how did we miss it, but like, how did we all miss it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, walk into the shower rooms and one stall has a curtain and one doesn't.
Right, right.
In theory, on paper, that's a great idea, except for if you're taking a shower without a shower curtain,
Yeah,
right? Like, it's,
right, no,
you know what I mean?
I think everybody understands these things come up, and that's why we have the contingency, and I
Yep.
think that's, it's good that we have it and we have the money there. We just wanna make sure that there's clear communication on everything, how it's spent and when it's spent.
Yep.
That's my biggest concern.
Yep.
And I think I can speak for the entire committee on that. Do we have anything else?
Not for me.
Before we close, I think everybody's aware of this, but not everybody at home may be aware of this. This is Mo's last meeting with us. Mo is not seeking re-election on the select board. He is retiring after 32 years?
Just 30.
30? You're staying on his town meeting, right?
Staying on
Town meeting,
town
Manny,
meeting, yeah, but
if you can get
got a
re-elected?
couple more years on that.
Yeah, all right. Well, I just wanted to thank you for, all the work you've done for the town, all the service you provided. It's been magnificent, spectacular, and I wanted to thank you for the mentoring you've done with me on this committee and other things throughout the years. So, congratulations. Good luck in your semi-retirement. I know you're busier now than ever.
I got stuff to do, Pat. I might come and sit in the audience.
That sounds, yeah, we could use.
Thank you.
Now, with that, will the select board be naming a replacement?
Yeah, I think they're not even gonna wait till the body's warm, and they're gonna vote on the 25th, so,
Okay,
yeah, there'll be somebody to finish it.
okay, well, bring them up to date.
Yeah,
But thank you again,
it's a
Mo.
good
Yeah,
experience. I'm glad we got it done.
Yeah. It's a good way to kind of wrap things up. You
And I was-
can end on a high note.
I tell you, this was one, before we got this one, when we actually got it voted, I thought this was one thing I wasn't gonna get done before I decided to retire, but, we did it, so that was good.
All right, well, congratulations again, Mo.
Thank you.
With that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So voted. Thank you, everybody.